I finally did it. I bought my first house. It wasn't anything fancy, just a quiet, two-story home at the end of a long, tree-lined street. The price was a steal, mostly because the place was old, really old. The real estate agent mentioned it was built in the early 1900s and had a lot of character. I just thought that meant creaky floorboards and drafty windows, which I could live with. I was so excited to finally have a place to call my own. The first week was a blur of unpacking boxes and deep cleaning. I was clearing out the attic, a space filled with dust and forgotten treasures, when I found it, tucked away in a dark corner, beneath a pile of moth-eaten blankets, was a small wooden chest. It wasn't locked. Inside, there was just one thing, an old cassette tape. It was unlabeled, the plastic casing yellowed with age. Curiosity got the better of me. I remembered seeing an old boombox in one of the boxes from my parents' place. I dug it out, blew the dust off, and popped in the tape. The audio quality was terrible, full of static and hissing. A man's voice, frail and trembling, began to speak. He introduced himself as Arthur, the previous owner. He said he was making the tape as a warning to whoever found it. He explained that this house wasn't just old. It held a dark history. Decades ago, it was home to a woman named Alara. The townspeople whispered that she was a witch, practicing dark arts within these very walls. They said she never truly left. Arthur's voice cracked as he described his own experiences. He talked about cold spots that would appear out of nowhere, doors creaking open on their own, and the faint sound of a woman humming a lullaby late at night. He said he often felt like he was being watched, the unsettling feeling of eyes on the back of his neck. He tried to ignore it, to rationalize it as his mind playing tricks on him in an old, creaking house. But then things escalated. Objects started moving. A coffee mug would slide across the counter. Books would fly off the shelves. He spoke of seeing a fleeting shadow in the corner of his eye. A tall, gaunt figure of a woman with long, stringy gray hair. He became obsessed, researching the local legends about Alara. The stories said she had died in the house, a bitter and lonely old woman, and her spirit had latched onto the property, refusing to move on. She despised anyone who tried to claim her home. The tape continued with Arthur documenting his descent into fear. His voice grew more frantic with each entry. He described waking up to the sound of scratching from inside the walls, a relentless, rhythmic scraping that would last for hours. He spoke of seeing her reflection in mirrors. Just for a second, her face contorted in a silent scream. He warned that she feeds on fear, that the more you acknowledge her, the stronger she becomes. He begged whoever was listening to leave the house, to run and never look back. The final entry was the most terrifying. Arthur was whispering, his breath ragged. He said, "She's here, in the room with me. I can see her. She's not a shadow anymore. Oh God, her eyes, they're just empty sockets. She's smiling at me." Then there was a loud crash, a blood-curdling scream, and the tape cut to silence. I sat there, frozen, the boombox humming with static. My heart was pounding in my chest. It had to be a prank, right? A sick joke left by the previous owner. I tried to laugh it off, but the silence in the house suddenly felt heavy, oppressive. I switched off the boombox and told myself it was just a story. But that night, as I lay in bed, I heard it. A faint, almost imperceptible humming sound, drifting up from the downstairs hallway. It sounded like an old, forgotten lullaby. I told myself it was the wind, the house settling, anything but what Arthur had described. The next few days, I was on edge. Every creak of the floorboards made me jump. Every shadow seemed to stretch a little too long. I started noticing things. A picture frame on the mantelpiece, slightly askew. A kitchen cabinet door left ajar when I knew I had closed it. Small things, easily dismissed, but the feeling of being watched was constant. One evening, I was making dinner when a chill ran down my spine. The air in the kitchen grew cold, so cold I could see my breath. I turned around slowly. Standing in the doorway to the dining room was a shadow, darker than the surrounding gloom. It was tall and thin, just as Arthur had described. I blinked, and it was gone. My hands were shaking so much I dropped the knife I was holding. It clattered loudly on the tile floor, the sound echoing in the unnerving silence. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on my bed, with the lights on, listening. Just after midnight, the scratching started. It came from inside the wall next to my bed. A slow, deliberate scrape, scrape, scrape. It was exactly as Arthur had described. I wanted to scream, to run out of the house, but I was paralyzed by fear. The scratching continued for what felt like an eternity before finally fading away as the sun began to rise. I knew I had to get out. I spent the next day packing a bag, my mind racing. I wasn't going to end up like Arthur. I would just leave the house, the furniture, everything. But as I rushed around, I felt a change in the atmosphere. The air grew thick and heavy, and a strange, sweet smell, like decaying flowers, filled the rooms. The humming was back, louder this time, seemingly coming from all around me. I ran for the front door, my bag slung over my shoulder. I grabbed the doorknob, but it wouldn't turn. It was ice cold to the touch. I pulled and twisted with all my might, but it was stuck fast. Panic set in. I ran to the back door, then to the windows, one by one. They were all sealed shut, as if they were welded to their frames. I was trapped. That's when I saw her clearly for the first time. She was standing at the top of the stairs, no longer a shadow, but a solid, terrifying form. It was an old woman, gaunt and pale, her dress tattered and gray. Her hair was a tangled mess, and her face was a mask of pure hatred. And her eyes, just like Arthur said, were dark, empty sockets that seemed to pull all the light from the room. She smiled, a slow, cruel curving of her lips that revealed yellowed, broken teeth. She didn't walk down the stairs. She glided, her feet never touching the steps. The humming grew into a discordant shriek that rattled my bones. I backed away, stumbling over a box, and fell to the floor. I scrambled backward, crab walking away from the approaching horror. She was getting closer, her long, skeletal fingers reaching out for me. The last thing I saw were those empty, black eyes. The last thing I felt was an icy coldness enveloping me, stealing my breath, my life, my very soul. And now, here I am. I can't leave. I'm part of the house now, just like her. I watch the seasons change through the windows I can never open. I see new families come and go, full of the same hope and excitement I once had. I try to warn them. I creak the floorboards. I whisper in the drafts. I leave cold spots in the hallways. But they never listen. They rationalize it, just like I did. And she is always here, waiting in the shadows, growing stronger with their fear, hungry for the next soul to claim. So if you've just moved into a charming old house, and you find an old tape, please, for your own sake, don't press play. Just run. And if you hear a faint humming late at night, know that it's me, trying to sing you a warning. Because she is here, and she is waiting for you, too. I can only watch as she begins to play her games all over again.